Welcome everyone to the Haiti Film Festival Women in the Arts panel. We have purposely turned off our videos in light of today's tragic events in Haiti. As you all may know from this morning's news reports, the southern part of Haiti was impacted by a 7.2 magnitude earthquake with high casualties, fatalities, and significant economic loss. Where do you run? Where do you hide when the earth beneath your feet trembles and the separation of land, ocean, and life become blurred? We will do our best to reach deep within us, to hold on to the dream we have for Haiti, and to let that be the light that guides today's discussion. Our dream is that one day soon Haiti will be appreciated and allowed to blossom into its rightful place as the country that sacrificed so much for freedom and humanity of all people. We now count on that humanity, who has benefited so much from Haiti's sacrifice, to stand beside us as we build on the dream of Haiti as a prosperous Black nation. Good afternoon. My name is Magdalah Silva, and I'm a board member of the Haitian Art Society, an international membership organization formed in 2003, composed of art collectors, gallerists, museum professionals, scholars, and researchers, all connected by a mutual appreciation and affection for Haitian art. The format of the panel discussion today will focus on three component parts: a vision that we hope will inspire and create powerful emotion on the potential of the art and culture sector in contributing to Haiti's development; the narrative on the power of words and how the arts can contribute to a new narrative on Haiti; and the takeaways, which will resume our panel discussion and provide suggested next steps. Each panelist will introduce themselves, and their comments will focus on one of the component parts. The second half of our time together will focus on your questions for our panelists. Panelists, please turn on your videos. Magalie, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to first thank everyone of you who have made this evening, this event possible. My name is Magalie Noel Dresse, president of Carine Craft, a company based in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, that has been for the past 20 years focusing on promoting high quality goods produced by the artisans of my country. I like to say the attention that you give to a matter gives power to this matter. What I mean by that today, in the context of what we're living, is that the attention on Haiti has always been put not where our strength is, but where our weaknesses are. Today, I am honored to be on this panel talking about what I call the essence of my country, the soul of my country, the talent of the artists and artisans. Once again, we are hit by natural disaster. And once again, we will seek solidarity coming from the international community to help us cope with the disaster. But what is really going to matter is how we will really put the emphasis on how to trigger development for this country. Putting to light today the importance of the arts sector is igniting a positive exchange with the world. 2020 has proven that we are one world, all in this together. And we as Haitians must highlight the most important resources that we have: our people, our culture, our passion, our innovative and creative minds. And this is what I do every day: attending international trade shows and opening accounts around the world, building partnerships with like-minded companies that can contribute to building bridges for sustainable opportunities for the artisans of Haiti. I'm sorry, we just had another aftershock and the internet connection is gone. So what I wanted to say is that it's the time, through our work, that we continue to shed the light on our arts, our culture, our history, also the strength and the hope of our youth here in Haiti. Thank you.
Thank you, Magalie. And as mentioned earlier, we are looking at this in three component parts. Magalie's introduced herself and also shared the vision that she has for the arts in Haiti. I'd now like to turn it over to Myriam, if you can share with us some of the narrative.
Thank you, Magdalah. Thank you, Magalie. My prayers and thoughts go for all the people of Haiti. I want to follow on what Magalie has just said with a brief story of Haitian art. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Myriam Nader, an art dealer and appraiser, specialized in Haitian art. I'm excited and honored to be part of this 6th annual Haiti Film Festival panel to contribute to the exposure to Haiti's beautiful, rich, and unique art to Hollywood. I was born and raised in Haiti. I've been involved with Haitian art for the past 32 years. First under my father's influence, Dresse, then on my own in the United States since 1999. I'm the owner, director, and manager of the online art gallery, Nader Haitian Art, a platform for all Haitian artists from all backgrounds and locations, Haiti, the US, Canada, and Europe. It's important to remember that Haiti is a rainbow of many civilizations, African, European, and Middle Eastern. Haitian art and its dissemination are influenced by all these cultures. It is multifaceted and present since the 1800s with the works of, for example, Colbert Louchard or Louis Rigaud. What we tend to forget in the history of art is that King Henri Christophe, President Alexandre Pétion, Emperor Suluk, and President Gifford supported some artistic activities from the 1807 to the 1867. Haitian art is much more than the work of naive painters. It is a complex set of artists from the same rich culture, expressing their emotions, stories, and struggles on a medium. The subjects may vary from social issues to social activities, like going to the market, landscapes, jungle scenes, daily life, dances, history, including Haiti's revolutionary past and voodoo scenes, and a variety of styles from naive primitive to non-naive primitive and forms like paintings, voodoo flags, sculptures like iron, sculptured wood, recycled material, and more. Haitian art includes several schools or movements. We can name like the School of Cape Haitian with their leader, Philomé Robert. Each painter is autonomous, even if their master was behind them. The School of Jacmel with Prefet Dufault as their leader. The School of Artibonite with Ismaël Saint-Silus on top. The Saint-Soleil movement with Tiga and Maud Rambard. The School of Beauty with Bernard Séjourné, Simir, Jean-René Gérôme from the Fine Arts Academy, where beauty for these artists was in fact the face of anxiety, heavy silence, closed lips, showing the concern of their time, their social group. The independent, they didn't fit any particular school. And we have the Artist Resistance movement with André Eugène, created a new trend with the 2000, and with a provocative aspect. It's a collective of recycled debris into voodoo-infused cyberpunk sculptures, showing their despair, horror, and disgust. Each school focuses on specific themes and styles, from naive primitive to modern abstract. Social issues have been present in Haiti, in Haitian art of the 1930s and 40s in the context of the indigenous movement. As you can see, many of our Haitian painters have immortalized Haiti's fight for social justice and freedom. I can think of, among other, Pierre Payer, who painted the Citadelle La Ferrière in 1929, a fortress that became the Haitian symbol of resistance to the colonial forces. Or Georges Rapponneau, who showed in 1940 the site Lamentin, a former colonial fortification with Palmy Street, the character of our pride. Célestin Faustin, who painted the arrest of Toussaint Louverture. We can see also the soldiers in the painting of Ducasse, marching for freedom. Stevenson Magloire painted on social issues. More recently in Haiti, we've seen the sculpture of George Floyd by Kainit and the murals on Boudon and Grand Rue about Black Lives Matter, a tribute to George Floyd. To some extent, the visual arts expression of the Haitian Revolution and the Black Lives Matter movement drew inspiration from a passionate rejection of racially motivated violence. I want to emphasize that Haitian art is primarily an expression of Haitian culture and history. And this is precisely what makes it unique and rich. I'm in total agreement with Magalie. Haitian art is underfunded and underpromoted and undervalued with respect to the quality and diversification that he has to offer. He has great potential for job creation in Haiti. It's one of the best arts in the Caribbean, an undeniable source of creativity and our best ambassador to project a positive image of the country. I'm truly honored and humbled to be part of this beautiful legacy. Your support of Haitian and artists recognize the value and contribution of Haiti to the world. May this festival move you to know more about my country, Haiti. May this festival move you to know more about it, its people, its history, through the arts. May our artists' work be exhibited worldwide in museums and art galleries to achieve the highest exposure and acclamation it deserves. Together, we can bring back a positive image of Haiti to the arts and film and make a difference. Today, sadly, another earthquake struck Haiti, and we need your support more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Myriam. Carine, do you want to share with us? I know that we've sort of breezed through this morning and that we all are impacted by today's events, but Magalie's vision set the tone for how we have an enduring and quality product and artisans that are there and ready to deliver on quality product. Myriam talked about the history and the impact of the history on the art sector itself and used and chose words that really were very a positive reflection on the resilience and the talent of the people. Carine, would you like to kind of round off the panel for us and introduce yourself and share with us some of the takeaways from the early conversation, and then we'll move on to questions and answers. Carine?
Hi, everybody. I'm Carine Fabius, and I am the owner director of Galerie Lakaye in Los Angeles for the past 30 years. I've been very passionate about promoting Haitian art and culture because I feel like it is our strength. My heart is very heavy today. I'm sorry. With the people in Haiti and with the earthquake, another big issue for us to deal with. But in spite of our issues, we have the strength we need to get through it. We have the hope because the hope lies in our artists. The art and culture of Haiti is its hope. I mean, art creation is a hopeful act. When an artist begins a piece of work, they have the hope of that it's going to turn out the way they wanted to begin with, that it's going to be a beautiful piece, that someone will come along and buy it, that maybe it will open doors to something else. And so they say that there is an artist born every day in Haiti. And so because we are a nation of artists, we are a hopeful country. And that's why we'll continue to have, Haiti will continue to be a hopeful country forever because of that. Now, if you're listening to this panel, it's because you either love Haiti, or you love Haitian art and culture, or you love movies, or you work in the film industry, or you cover the arts or film. And the earthquake today, Haiti is no different from any other country in that sense, because we will continue to have environmental disasters due to climate change. So it isn't like, so we're going to have to continue to help each other and our neighbors around the world as things like this happen. And the way that you can help Haiti, because we don't have a government that values its strongest asset, is to become an ambassador for Haitian art and culture. And there are many ways that you can do that. You can, first of all, if you collect Haitian art, or if you own even one piece of Haitian art, I would recommend that you post it on social media and post the artist's name and talk about your enthusiasm for the work. We need to get the word out there about Haiti's extraordinary arts culture, and that's just one way to do it. And everybody's on social media, so that's just one idea I had. The other thing is that you can patronize Haitian artists. You can buy their work. I mean, whether it's through galleries like mine or Myriam's or Magalie's business, or through the internet on Instagram and platforms like Artsy. Haitian art is everywhere in Haiti, and it's also everywhere all over the world. You can also look in your community, your own community, and see where there might be somebody selling Haitian art there. I encourage you to seek out Haitian artists and buy their work, because those artists, they are our strength. And in fact, I have a great example of an artist who was living in the Grand Rue area of Port-au-Prince, who started a school called New Vision School. His name is Leslie Pierre-Paul. And it's amazing because we saw his work here at the Gallery, but he's doing much better than us selling his work on Instagram. So the way to support Haiti is to support its artists. I mean, my husband and I made a film we produced together a film called Out of Chaos, An Artist's Journey in Haiti. And that film, it was an award-winning film, and it was screened at 34 different film festivals around the world, which means that there is an appetite and an appreciation for our exceptional and unexpected arts culture. But still, you know, having a film shown in 34 film festivals didn't feel to us like it was enough. I mean, I feel like our outreach needs to be big. It needs to be huge. So what we did with our film is we hired somebody to create an academic study guide to go along with it. And then we offered it to universities for them to introduce it into their curriculums so that they could teach about Haitian art history and Haitian history. We offered it to Black Studies departments, Caribbean and Latin American departments, and African Studies and African American Studies departments, and it's been very well received. Some top tier universities like Duke University and Cal State Northridge and FSU, Michigan State, Connecticut State, University of Virginia, they've already licensed the film, and they are showing it, they're screening it to their students. And for us, the point isn't like I mean, ideally we want more eyeballs on that film, but why? Because it introduces Haiti and its extraordinary arts culture through people who may never have heard about it before. And video is huge. People love video. People love film. They're engaged by it. It's today's medium. And I feel like if people become familiar, become exposed to Haiti and its art culture, they will be inspired to engage with it and to become future patrons or to get involved in volunteer efforts or whatever. I feel like we have to think really big. We have to think outside the box and think about ways to reach millions of people with this very strong message that Haiti, in spite of its issues, it's one of the biggest sources for Black art in the world, right? And people don't know that. I feel like we need to change that narrative, and for people to get it, that Haiti is not this or that. It's a nation of artists, and I highly suggest and recommend to those of you who are in the film industry to create more documentaries, maybe short films, maybe about specific artists and their brilliant work, because there is so much brilliant work being done in Haiti. You can walk into any artist studios and they'll have like 100 pieces sitting there. You know, our film showed how after the last earthquake, the artists got up every day and they made art. They made art every day, even though they had no obvious clients. They create because they have to, right? So, and our film only touched the surface. So I would recommend, and I hope that filmmakers in the audience will think about making more films about Haitian art and its artists. The other thing I wanted to say is that you can also use our film to raise funds for, we'll be doing a fundraiser soon, probably in the next couple of days, to raise money for the artists. And we're set up so that people can make donations. They can view the film and make donations that will be tax deductible. And, you know, it's really important, I think, that when people help, when people want to help, that they help the people directly, because people tend to think about, oh, here's Haiti with its hand out again. No, I mean, it's the money that was given to the Red Cross, you know, in 2010. I don't know whatever happened to that money after congressional inquiries, et cetera. There's still no answers about where all that money went. So that money didn't get to where it was supposed to go. So I like the idea of, if you want to give money, give it to people you know. And I know a lot of artists, so that's who I want the money to go to, because again, Haiti's art is our strength, and I want to promote that and support that as much as I can. And I also want to say that you can also help support Haitian culture by supporting organizations like Jacques Hill's, the Haiti International Film Festival. Jacques Hill is a constant, dedicated promoter of Haitian art and culture. He has opened many doors for us. He got our film in the Cannes film market, and so he's a tireless promoter of the culture. So the Haiti International Film Festival can use your support as well, and also Magdalah's organization, the Haitian Art Society, which is just a wonderful organization, and at its core, it wants to support Haitian art and its artists and to get the word out about it. So if you want to find out how you can use the film to do fundraisers for your organizations, or to help raise money for the artists, you can contact me through our Galerie website. That's galerielakaye.com. And I'm honored to be participating in this panel and to be included with this group of Haitian art people. Thank you.
Talk to us about the creative sector and what that can teach us about eco-friendly products, recycling, and sustainability. And I'll open that up to each one of the panelists to respond. Whoever would like to take it first.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is this old tradition that we've had in Haitian art of artists taking oil drums and recycling them into phenomenal sculptures. They've been doing that for years. It's a tradition. And then there is this movement, like with the artistes résistance artists, who are, that's what they do. They make art out of whatever they can find on the ground around them. And so they're creating art that does not deplete the environment, because they're recycling whatever materials they can find. And those, a lot of their works have ended up in important museum collections and exhibitions around the world. So that's just a couple of examples of how Haitian artists are supporting sustainability.
Yes, I would like to continue on what you were just saying, Carine. What has made a success of our company is basically recycled paper. And I would like to just say that I love the name of your film, Carine, because in this chaos, they find something positive. This is their way out of the chaos, creating things with their hands, with the limited things that they have access to, but that represents sources of great potential for them to get out of the situation, not only mentally, but also financially. Because one thing I have to say is that the amount of stress that we live here in Haiti, I think our creativity keeps us sane. And that's what is so strong about us. We are not limited into how we can transform things. And it's a blessing, because when we're thinking that by 2026, the industry, the handmade industry for what you call the orange industry, that includes the artists and the artisans, will reach over $1 trillion in a year, we have a room for us to position ourselves and to grow, not for us only on this panel, but for Haiti, because we are a nation of artists.
Short comments. Not like Magalie and Nicole are more in touch with this kind of form into art. But I can say it's very innovative. And if they can use it as a form of expression and have it internationally exhibited and show that movement of it being eco-friendly that everybody is going for, I think it's a good idea if we can market it. And I think Artist Resistance is doing a good job with that. He has, some of the before has tried, didn't find such a good, they were more reluctant to it. Now it's an environment for it. So I would say, yes, we should use it and promote Haitian art in the other any form. Yeah, I agree with Magalie and Nicole.
How could we actually develop a stronger ecosystem that would support the art and culture sector in Haiti? What are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously, it would be fantastic if we could get more museum exhibitions around Haitian art. Back in '94, when the Sacred Arts of Haitian Voodoo exhibit happened and went around the world, that was a huge opening for Haitian art and culture. A lot of people learned about voodoo from the source versus from Hollywood films that portray us as a bunch of zombies, which we can be sometimes, but not usually. Getting into museums is tough, but the fight is worth it. I mean, I've got a museum proposal that I'm shopping around as we speak. And, it's all about opening doors with, you need an introduction. And even with introductions, it's tough. But the thing is that the time right now is ripe because there is such a focus on promoting Black culture. And I think that the African diaspora and Haiti stands to benefit greatly from that. So ideally, more museum exhibitions, more trade shows, more art fairs where Haitian art can be exposed. That's what I would like to see.
Yes, I would like to add to what Nicole said. It's very important that Haitian art is back to the museums, showcase everywhere like it used to be back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I know that the museum now with the pandemic is facing a lot of difficulties because they have to, with the pandemic, they have to restructure the way things are done. And in that way, I think it's a positive thing for us in Haiti. I was thinking like they could do an exhibition of Haitian art virtually. I've seen museums doing, having this application, this technology of switching the feel, touch, and social interaction into digitally. So maybe we could do the same for Haiti and have this museum's exhibition of Haitian art from the paintings in Haiti and have them do it like that. It is good for us. It will build the name of Haitian art and the trust. I think, and the art gallery internationally too. So yeah, that's how I see it.
I also think that there's a lot of room for education because now that there is so much emphasis and interest in highlighting Black culture, it's really clear that a lot of times people have no idea. I mean, as an example, I have a page on Artsy, which is an international art platform, and I was shocked to see that when you looked at the categories that they had that you could search for art, all they had was African. Okay, African. So that doesn't imply African American artists. It doesn't imply Black artists from anywhere in the world. So I suggested to them, hey, you might want to add a Black art category, which would embody all Black artists from all over the world. And then I was also shocked to find that they didn't even have a Caribbean. I mean, in terms of regions where you could look under, they didn't have Caribbean. And it's like, I said to my rep, you know, Haitian art is a thing. The Jamaican art is a thing. Cuban art is a thing. You know, when people who like to collect art from a certain region go on Google, that's what they're gonna type is Haitian art, because obviously things have changed quite a bit in how people buy art. My experience has been over the last 4 years or so is that I sell more art through my website than at the gallery, and I sold a lot in the last year through the website. And whenever I ask people, where did you hear about us? Usually they say, oh, I was looking for Haitian art. I Googled Haitian art, or I was looking for a specific artist. So, you know, and I'm just using Artsy as an example. They obviously want to promote Black art because it's in style right now. Hopefully it'll stay trendy, but they don't know how to do it. And so it's up to us to tell them how, to explain to them how to do it. As much as we get sick of having to explain to the white community what being Black is about, it's unfortunately we have to do it. And in fact, it's my pleasure to do it because it really bugs me when they don't do it right.
Well, I'd like to add one thing to all that has been said. I'm sorry that we got disconnected again. What I think is really important is that people relate to stories and people like to be inspired. And our artists and artisans have incredible journeys that needs to be highlighted. And I think that this is going to be a key component to how we boost sales about whether our paintings or our quality craft, because they want to know, how did we touch their lives? How did we have a real impact? So I think that is a real door opener. How do we put together these documentaries that will just not only educate them into how we got here with our past, with who we learn from, but what are we doing now and how are we doing it? Because we are incredibly inspiring as a nation. Each one of us have this story that could educate the world. Because we stand tall, we fight, we have dignity, we have proud, we do not ask for favors, we want to succeed. We just need a chance, we need a visibility, we want the market access. And let's share the stories of our journey with everybody who's willing to listen and contribute into the change of this country.
What do you think is the best social media platform for Haitian art to thrive?
I'm not a social media expert, but just from my experience with Instagram and this one artist I was talking about before, it is where people go looking for art because, you know, it's an image-based platform. And in fact, I didn't always believe in the power of social media to actually translate from followers to actual sales. But I have seen that after putting effort into posting on a regular basis on Instagram, we had 2 people come to the gallery at an event we had recently, and they bought some art. So I think you have to be persistent. You know, it's not like poof, it's going to happen overnight. I think Instagram is definitely, and from what I've read too, of people who are collectors and people who are art consultants, they are coming through Instagram all the time for new work. And I find new artists on Instagram myself.
I would like to say that, Carine, you're completely right, because it's a visual platform. And I think that us Haitians, we need to also be a little bit more aggressive. Instagram and Facebook are one platform, they're huge. And if we together have an approach and say, guys, we want your endorsement to promote arts and crafts, and this is the page that we're creating, we will have Instagram and Facebook support our sales by promoting them. I think that people might be on this panel connected to them, but I personally had the occasion to meet with their communication strategists in Costa Rica. They are open to these kind of things, but we need the endorsement. For example, if the Haitian International Film Festival would say, we are going forward to the next step on how we could highlight the arts and crafts sectors. These are the social media platforms that need to be highlighted. We will come up with a good strategy that could really tremendously boost our visibility. And that's something that I strongly believe that social media could make a difference. And we together, as we are speaking together on this panel, could have an approach and say, guys, this is what we want. This is what we're targeting in 1 year. How could you come together and make it happen. And I think that's a great way to even continue our conversation about the arts and craft promotion around the world.
I myself, I use all the platforms. The reason is that each one have their own type of art buyers. Like the new generation of art collectors is probably more on Instagram. Facebook is like a bit more in the middle. I use Pinterest also because it's an image thing. LinkedIn is for the professionals. So I use a combination of all of them because my purpose is to make sure that Haitian art is all over, like in all type of social media. I don't mind where the sales is coming from. I just want I want the public to be educated enough about Haitian art to know what they're buying, the value behind it. So I will not say which one is best or not, but I think the combination of all of them, especially nowadays with how social media is going. I use Twitter too, so I use all of them.
Yeah, that absolutely does. And in fact, the Haitian Art Society, we have about 4,000 Facebook followers. So when you talk about social media, it basically can have two effects. The first effect is that you're putting information out, but the second effect is that you're building communities. And in that building of communities, you can actually put pressure on the content, on the information that you continue to want to have, and the information and the content that you want to continue to see. So it's a double-edged advantage if we use it properly. What suggestions would you have in terms of how we could put more pressure on museums to not only buy, because some museums actually have bought the Haitian art, but they haven't displayed the Haitian art. So what suggestions would we have from the panelists in terms of allowing the museums or encouraging the museums not only to purchase the art, but to also display the art?
I think education and promotion is very essential to have it back. The way it was before in the 1950s and on was because all media, all we were hearing about Haiti was Haitian art. And if we get this back to their view of Haiti, then we educate about the artists, then we can get the museums to get back to us and want to have more exhibitions. It's not that we're not having, we have, but it's not as it was before. And also we don't want them to specifically exhibit one kind of art, like naive primitive art. We want it to be more broader, like because we tend to have this conventional, people to think conventionally that Haitian art is only naive art. So we want exhibition of the entire diversity of Haitian art. And the way to have it is to educate them, to the media, social media, the press, TV, newspapers, write about it, publishing books, make sure that they know about the new trends, everything that is going on. And if we're back to the museums, then there's a great chance for us to have a broader exposure. And that's what we're looking for, to recognize it as it was before. You see what I mean? That's my feeling.
There's one thing I'd like to add to this, what Myriam was saying. It is important that we write and we are present in the news, in all sides for media, but it's also important to open doors to push doors that are already open to us. In 2004, the Smithsonian Museums had an exhibit about Haiti, really endorsing a lot of arts and craft for a period of time. And they remain, I think, a partner of Haiti, but they are not pushed to take actions. And I think that it's up to us to kind of, in parallel, reopen these doors and say, we would like to have an exhibit. In 2022, I know that Haiti is supposed to be the country that they will be highlighted. And this is information that I'm sharing in the panel that I know because I'm in contact with them. But how do we collectively take this opportunity and run with it? And that's important about being part of a panel like this. This is exchanged between us and with the world, and say, if this door is open with Smithsonian Museum, the others will follow because they are all connected. So how do we educate them, but also take actions? Push them to do things by saying, this is what we want. This is what have been done in 2004. This is what we need to be done now. And how do we create that momentum ourselves and go to them and say, we are gonna take the lead of this event that you're gonna host in all of your museums. And by doing that, you're just gonna open more doors. I know we're saying once you open a big museum door, all of them come to you. When you open a big home decor door, all of them come to you because you've built the trust, broken the ice. And this is what I think we should do for the museums and have a very strong presence very quickly.
I was saying, I agree with both of you and also with what Myriam was saying about the press in particular. I mean, you know, I've been in Los Angeles. I've had this gallery for 30 years, and the gallery's been featured in the LA Times many times, but never in the arts section, right? So I feel like there is a certain amount of just ignorance, and also because they think about Haitian art in a certain way. And so there is an education to be done around, yeah, Haitian art isn't just this one thing. Because there are so many genres that Haitian artists are like artists all over the world. They're working in tons of different genres. And in fact, I recently rented. I've seen an uptick in rentals to movie studios and corporations that are trying to include art in their productions because luckily, happily, there are more productions happening with Black storylines and Black characters around them. And I noticed that a lot of times, not a lot of times, but occasionally, they will, when asked to choose among pieces that's going to be shown in the background, they'll often choose something abstract, right? Which is wonderful because people tend to think that Haitian art is always figurative, but it's not. And so it's also another way to let people know, like, what's going on here. You know, we're seeing a person who's Black in their home with a piece of art in the background that isn't necessarily what you think it should look like.
Definitely. And when we speak of museums, obviously, we have to specifically talk about the curators, because the curators very often are the ones that make the decision. So they are the influencers that we need to be putting in front of the potential of what it is to have Haitian art and the importance of Haitian art. We're almost at our close here. Are there any last comments from our panelists before I do a quick wrap up and turn it back over to Jacqueline? I know you're impassioned, Magalie. We'd love to hear some inspiring words from you since you are directly impacted by some of today's events.
I would like to thank everybody to be here, of course. And I would ask each one of you to think about my country, not with pity, but I would like you to admire the work of my talented artists and artisans. I would like you to acknowledge the resilience of my nation. I would like for each one of you to find the innovative way to contribute to building a brighter future for Haiti. To be part of it is the only place in the region where you can be part of a real change. And together, I think that we could take my country out of this chaos. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Carine, Myriam, any last words that you'd like to leave with our participants?
Yeah, yes, most definitely. I'd like to thank you, all of you, for the support, especially Hollywood for listening to this video, this film, and Jackie of the supporters. I think it's a very good initiative, and I would love it to be there's a follow. I would love to hear more about it, and love to stay in touch with all of you and collaborate with all of you and make sure that what we have done today doesn't stay just here in this film festival. I want it to be spread. I want to see actions. And thank you again for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Jacqueline, Magdalah, Magalie, Nicole. And please support us. I'm counting on Hollywood to support this great initiative. Jacqueline will probably be the one in touch with this, with the film. And I want you guys to know that I stay at your disposal should you need any support or any paintings or anything that you need for your film documentaries. Don't hesitate. I'm sure Nicole will do the same. And Magalie also, you can count on us. So now the ball is in your hand. And we'll always be there to support whatever you guys decide to do after that. Thank you all.
Just thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Knowing that there are people out there who are supportive of the arts and of our culture is very heartwarming. And please send me or any of us your suggestions that you think might open doors for the culture to continue to thrive. Thank you.
Very good. So our takeaways, where we want to make sure that you have something in your toolkit that you can take back with you. The first thing is that the collaboration between film and art, with the richness of the content, both historical content and current content, is extremely rich. Second, it's up to us to build the ecosystem that we want to see for the development of art and culture in Haiti. Thirdly, is you have to believe in the creativity of our artists. It is a natural talent that is very rare, that is almost a God-given gift that we have to be able to use. And also that Haiti is one of the largest sources for Black art relative to its size and output in the world. And the time for allowing that art to be shared with the world is now. Also that Haiti is a nation of artists and of creatives that date back to the 1800s. This is a 200-year track record.
Yep.
What's significantly important is that it's up to all of us to build the ecosystem we want to see. It's not going to happen by itself. And we would love that you continue to follow the different organizations that were mentioned today and support the organizations that are in the arts and culture field, and to know that every time you support those organizations, you're supporting a family of artists. So I want to thank you again, Jacqueline, for this wonderful panel and putting us here together to talk about something that's significantly important. We wish you the best of luck, and we thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Thank you again.